Some athletes win championships. Others define an era without ever claiming the crown. In CrossFit, we've seen dominance from names like Tia-Clair, Katrin Davidsdottir, and Annie Thorisdottir. But what if I told you that one of the greatest female athletes in the sport's history never won the Games? That's right. Not once. Today, we break down why this CrossFit legend was robbed of her rightful title. Every year, the CrossFit Games crown the fittest on Earth. It's the ultimate test of strength, endurance, and grit. If you win, your name is etched into history alongside the likes of Tia-Clair, Matt Fraser, and Rich Froning. But what if I told you that titles don't always tell the full story? That there's one athlete who, despite her insane work ethic, jaw-dropping performances, and the respect of the entire CrossFit community, never claimed the top spot? She wasn't just a competitor, she was a force, a nightmare for her rivals. The kind of athlete who could show up, obliterate workouts, and still somehow fall just short. So, what happened? Why did one of the sport's greatest athletes never reach the top of the podium? Bad luck? Tougher competition? Or was the system itself working against her? Today, we dig deep into her story, the near misses, and the legacy she left behind. And by the end, you might just question everything you thought you knew about winning. Her name? Kara Saunders. If you followed CrossFit for any amount of time, you know exactly who she is. If you haven't, well, let's just say she's the athlete that every champion feared, but somehow never got to be one herself. Year after year, she showed up in peak condition. She crushed events. She left crowds speechless. And yet, when the dust settled and the final scores rolled in, she was always so close, but never on top. To understand why this all-time great never won, we need to go back to the beginning. Back to when she first arrived on the CrossFit scene and started shaking things up. Every CrossFit legend has an origin story. And for Kara Saunders, it didn't take long before she went from just another competitor to a serious contender. Born in Australia, Kara burst onto the CrossFit scene in 2012, quickly making a name for herself as one of the strongest and most well-rounded athletes in the sport. She wasn't just good, she was elite. Her combination of raw power, technical precision, and sheer determination made her a nightmare for even the best competitors. By 2017, she was at the peak of her career, going head-to-head with the best in the world, including Tia-Clair, her fellow Aussie and future 6-time CrossFit Games champion. That year, Kara put on a performance for the ages. She won multiple events, dominated strength workouts, and held her own in endurance challenges. The title was within reach. And then, she lost, by just 2 points, the smallest margin in CrossFit Games history. After a grueling 4-day battle, Tia edged her out in the final event, leaving Kara in second place. It was a heartbreakingly close finish, one that had fans and analysts alike saying she should have won. And this is where things get interesting, because when you break down her career, a pattern starts to emerge. A pattern that might explain why one of the greatest to ever do it never claimed the title of fittest on Earth. Kara Saunders wasn't just a top athlete. She was a dominant force. She had the strength to crush heavy lifts, the endurance to outlast the field, and the resilience to push through pain like no one else. So, if she had all the tools to win, why didn't she? Well, there's no single answer. But when you look at her career, a few key factors stand out. First, bad luck and timing. Kara competed in the same era as Tia-Clair, arguably the most dominant female CrossFit athlete of all time. If Kara had competed just a few years earlier or later, she might have been the one stacking up championships. Second, the brutality of the CrossFit Games itself. This isn't a sport where the best athlete always wins. It's a test of survival, and sometimes it only takes one bad event to ruin your chances. Kara was strong across the board, but when a workout played against her weaknesses, she couldn't afford to slip, not even by a few points. And finally, her own body. CrossFit isn't just a battle against other competitors. It's a battle against injuries, fatigue, and the sheer grind of the sport. Kara pushed herself to the absolute limit year after year. But by the time she returned to the Games after having her daughter, she was competing against not just the field, but her own body's ability to recover. She had the talent, she had the drive. But sometimes, even the best don't get their fairy tale ending. Or do they? Because when you really think about it, isn't Kara's legacy bigger than just a title? In sports, we're obsessed with winners. We remember the champions, the record breakers, the ones who stood on top of the podium. But sometimes, the true greats aren't the ones with the trophies. Kara Saunders may not have an official CrossFit Games title, but her impact on the sport? Undeniable. She redefined what it meant to be a powerhouse athlete. She proved that you could be both incredibly strong and incredibly conditioned, setting the standard for future competitors. She went toe-to-toe with legends, pushed the sport forward, and inspired an entire generation of athletes who saw her fight year after year. And let's be real, if second place by 2 points isn't championship-worthy, what is? Kara Saunders may not have been crowned fittest on earth, but to her fans, to her fellow athletes, and to the sport of CrossFit itself, she'll always be one of the greatest to ever do it. And maybe, just maybe, that's the kind of legacy that lasts even longer than a title. So, what do you think? Should Kara Saunders have won a CrossFit Games title? Was she the greatest female athlete to never be crowned fittest on earth? Or does winning even matter when your legacy speaks for itself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're into deep dives like this, you'll want to stick around, because we've got plenty more stories from the world of elite fitness that'll make you question everything you thought you knew.